Well, greetings from Leicester and the United Kingdom. My name's Nigel. I'm the European President at the moment of God Squad, and it's a pleasure to be going through this journey through Mark with you, and looking at the passage, but looking at some theological issues today as well. And I'm going to read it because the passage is really important for this one. Well, the Pharisees and some of the teachers of the law who had come from Jerusalem gathered around Jesus and saw some of his disciples eating food with hands that were defiled, that is, unwashed. The Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they give their hands a ceremonial washing, holding to the tradition of the elders. When they come from the marketplace, they do not eat unless they wash, and they observe many other traditions, such as the washing of cups, pitchers, kettles. So the Pharisees and teachers of the law asked Jesus, "Why don't your disciples live according to the traditions of the elders, instead of eating their food with defiled hands?" Well, he replied, "Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you hypocrites. As it's written, these people honour me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules." And then I'm going to move down a little bit to verse 15. Well, nothing outside a person can defile them by going into them. Rather, it is what comes out of a person that defiles them. After he had left the crowd, he entered the house. His disciples asked him about the parable. "Are you so dull?" he asked. "Don't you see that nothing entering a person from the outside can defile them? For it doesn't go into their heart, but into their stomach, and then out of the body." In saying this, Jesus declared all foods clean. He went on, "What comes out of a person is what defiles them. For it is from within, out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. All these evils come from inside and defile a person." Well, it's an interesting passage, and I was talking about it at church this morning. So we had our Wednesday meeting, and I decided to use this. I didn't quite say the same things that I'm saying now, but it was interesting in our services when I take communion in the Church of England. The traditional services, you have a bowl of water, you have a bowl, and you have water. And at the beginning, when we start to celebrate communion at the table, the priest or the vicar takes this water and washes the tips of the fingers before starting the ceremony of communion at the table. So I was saying, it's a tradition. It's been passed down. It's by our elders almost. And the question was, is it hypocritical? Is it wrong to do that? Well, I said yes and no. I said yes, if it's just a ceremony, if we don't know what we're doing, if there's no symbolism within that. But I said no, if it's something that leads us to God, if there's some reality behind that. And for me, it's a symbolism that we're coming into doing something really significant. Now, if I forgot to wash my fingers or wash my hands before I did that, would there be deep consequences? Well, no, it's not the end of the world. And I wouldn't enforce anyone else to do that. So if someone else came in and didn't take that tradition. But for me, it's important because it symbolises we're doing something holy, something sacred. And I think that's really what Jesus was saying. The traditions are okay as long as they've got meaning, as long as there's some spiritual significance, then they're okay. And if not, then we go through the motions and we can be seen as hypocrites if it's not our heart that's in this. But anyway, before I start to talk actually about the passage anymore, I don't know if you've ever seen Columbo, but Columbo's an American detective in America, and we watch him in England, and it's really interesting the way he solves crimes. He sort of knows what's happened before, but he goes through this process. And we've got a puzzle to work out here. So it's quite interesting. This series, it's intended to be a little bit deeper, a little bit of theology in there, and there's a little bit of theological interest here, because when we get to verse 16, it doesn't actually exist. So we've got all these verses, and we get to 16, and it's blank. And I found it quite interesting. And the reason it's blank is because the NIV and some other Bibles, which I quite like, they've left it out. So why have they done this? And when I was doing my first degree at Bible college, this was an important thing, textual criticism. And the reason that they've left the verse out, why there's a blank there, is because the Bible was based on the original Greek text. But there's also many manuscripts. And to check the accuracy of the Bible, they go back to these manuscripts, these short passages of Scripture. And when they put that in, it was when the King James was first formed. And the King James only had so many manuscripts, and this certain Greek manuscript that they worked off, and that had it in. But the most reliable early manuscripts don't, and that's why that verse is missing. But it's really interesting for me. It's evidence that the Bible is an accurate is accurate. That what's in there is what was said. That it's not you, because if it was fabricated, you'd have none of these mistakes. You'd have none of these issues. And what is actually there in the other manuscripts, and why it used to be there. If anyone has ears to hear, let them hear. And it's almost a copy of chapter 4 and verse 23. And this passage, some people think that those who were copying it mistakenly put this in, and that could quite well be true, because the early manuscripts don't have it. Now, is it important? No, not really. If it's there, it makes no difference to the passage. It's an insignificant thing, and that's what we find throughout the Bible. These little bits that are either not there or slight differences make no difference to the meaning of the text. And so it just helps me to know that we can really rely on what we're reading. Well, it's interesting, the passage, the Pharisees, these hypocrites, they're challenging Jesus. Why don't your disciples wash their hands? Why don't they follow the tradition of the elders? And Jesus says, well, almost Jesus, they're with Jesus, the one who wrote the law, because Jesus is fully God and fully human. But also, he challenges them. He says, you've got so fixated on these little rules that you're missing the big things. You're missing you're honouring me with your lips, but your hearts aren't there. You're worshipping in vain. You're teaching merely rules. You need to hold on to the reality behind it. Your hearts need to be in worship as well as your lips. The things that you're telling people to do, you need to be doing them themselves, really. And your heart needs to be there. So when we worship, it's not just our lips saying things, but our hearts are in it. And I hope that's my experience when I'm leading worship. It's important. It's interesting as well with my bike, and one of the reasons I'm in the garage reflecting on this is because this is where I keep my bike. Now, for my bike, it's quite a scruffy machine. I know some Harley owners who polish their bikes most weeks. They won't go out unless the bikes are pristine and gleaming. They won't go out in rain, some guys I know, let alone with the grit covered roads of England. They try hard to convince others to keep their bikes pristine, to follow these traditional rules that seem to have been handed down, keeping the mileage down to hold the perceived value, so not riding too far, insisting that the bike has to have regular services, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but it's making sure that the services are right. My own bike gets treated to a wash now and then. It shows signs of rust. It's experiencing the salt of the British roads, and many other rain showers on the many journeys. Inside, it's perfect. Its heart is strong. Its purpose is to be a vehicle, to travel, to be ridden, to follow God's leading on ceremonial washing makes no difference. So I can wash it as much as I like. It's not going to make any difference to its core purpose, to carry me on mission sometimes across the world and across Europe. Washing makes no difference. Polishing the chrome won't make it go any differently. It'll look better, yeah, but it's its heart what's important. Its inner being. The life carries this bike on mission, the pumping of the internal engine, and we could have a hollow engine and a beautiful looking bike, but it'd be pointless. The bike needs to serve a purpose, and it's got rust on, yeah, and I'll sort it out at some point, but its heart's right. And this is what Jesus was saying to the disciples. He was saying that things that come into our body, things we eat, things we eat without washing our hands sometimes, it doesn't defile us, it doesn't make us unclean, it might make us ill, but it's not what makes our inner being unclean. And he says to them, what comes out of us, from our hearts, because the things we speak don't just come from our lips, they come from our heart, from our inner being. And he says those evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander and arrogance and folly, those are the things that make us unclean, the things that come from us. So in following Jesus's instructions, really, we need to make sure that our inner core is healthy, that we keep our inner life there, our lights burning. And it's good to follow some traditions. We do it. We have communion, which is the symbolism of bread and the symbol of wine as Jesus' body and blood. We've got a set way of doing it. But if the reality behind that, if we're eating just bread and just drinking some wine, then what's the point? Our hearts need to be right. And when we worship, our hearts need to be there. We need to have Jesus at the centre of what we do, not just what we say. And so let's move with integrity. Let's ride with integrity. And let's hold Jesus and any traditions that we carry with integrity, especially within our Clubbing God squad. Thank you.